explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. As we enjoy the prelude, let's silence our cell phones, quiet our minds, and open our hearts.
Good morning. I'm going to play a hymn that I loved in high school. I was at a Swedish Covenant high school, and we'd sing this, and it was especially good for a moody teenager. It was called Spirit of God, Descend Upon My Heart, and I especially like the verse where it says, I ask no dream, no prophet ecstasies, no sudden bending of the veil of clay, no angel visitant, no opening skies, but take the dimness of my soul away.
Thank you, Karen. Very beautiful. Welcome, everyone, to Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. As I always say, it's great to be here on a Sunday morning with friends and fellow travelers, whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom. My name is Tom Brower. I'm a 68-year-old man with mostly gray hair and beard and blue shirt and pants. Summit is a liberal religious community. We're bound together not by all of us believing the same things, but by love and shared values, such as a commitment to a compassionate, just, and sustainable world. We draw our inspiration from all the world's religions, as well as humanist teachings, nature, science, philosophy, and personal practices. In other words, we're spiritual adventurers. And the world is our library, not just one sacred text to the exclusion of all else. Many rivers flow into the ocean of truth, and we enjoyed drinking from all of them. If you're new and you would like to learn more, we invite you to go to our website, summituuf.org, and make sure you hit the visitors button. Again, that's summituuf.org. If you're here in person, we invite you to stick around and talk to a member or two. Our shared values compel us to acknowledge that our fellowship resides on unceded Kumeyaay land, and that for more than 10,000 years, this land has been and continues to be their home. We recognize the violent history of colonization in California and honor the legacy of the continuing presence of the Kumeyaay Nation. Our two announcements are approaching. Do we have three? Are you coming up, Shannon? Why don't you go first?
We'll always have an announcement until the auction, if I'm here. Good morning, my fairy friends. My name is Shannon, and I am here to talk to you about the auction. The auction is coming up November 8th, and this is an opportunity to fundraise for the brick and mortar bills that we pay here so that social justice can do their great work in their community. We need everybody's help. We are still raising donations for businesses, but my fairy friends, it is time to start making your own fairy dust. And it is time for your donations. You all? I've heard a lot of great ideas out there, and I can't wait to see what you donate. Some of our popular donations are dinners, but there are several long-standing donations. If you need ideas, I would be happy to talk with you. My co-chair, Debbie, and I are charged with inspiring you with ideas. I know I'm flitting and fleeting around lately, but I am friendly to talk to, so feel free to come up and talk to me, and I'll help you with ideas. This is a form that you can turn in. There is also a link that you can click on and donate that way as well, which will be in the e-news and the scene. Again, my name is Shannon Fowl. I'm with the auction. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Forms are on your seats or in the back on the table.
All right. Al has announcement number 2.
Yep. I'm Al Mork, the chairman of the Social Justice and Action Committee, and this year we're considering having an interfaith shelter on campus here. And what this involves, Summit has done this since 2011, except for a couple of years after COVID, and last year when we weren't sure if we had enough members. And what this involves is the guests we get are screened. They're basically clean and sober, looking for work, training for a job, or working a low-paying job. And they're on campus here for 2 weeks, from 5 o'clock in the evening till possibly 7:30 in the morning. And we feed them, and then also they make their own breakfast in the morning and stuff. And what we need is people who are willing to bring a entree or a vegetable or a dessert or a what do I think? Okay, and what? No, I said entrees. Let's see, vegetable, or right. So okay, and so click, yeah, right those, and so what we're trying to do here is we're gathering this, and we're asking people to consider helping us out this year if we do it. And you will be receiving from Dan Bartholomew, we'll be sending out something, an email next week where you may consider if you're interested in participating and what you may be participating in. And or interested, if there'll be so. Questions? When is it? Okay. Okay. It would be late February or March next year. So we got time to go and so other than that, okay. Thanks much for your time. So.
Mine also is about the social action, but the committee will be meeting next Sunday at 12 o'clock. In the library.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Next Saturday, we're turning this whole area into an improv comedy club, so family friendly. For those who don't know, I spent over a decade performing at the National Comedy Theater in Mission Hills. I was part of their ensemble. I even was managing director there for a while. So I gathered a bunch of some of my favorite people from my days there and their friends. Very, very good improvisers, and we're going to do a family-friendly show. There's going to be 3 teams battling in an improv battle royale for your laughs, competing for your laughs, and we're going to do something where there's going to be something on the line for these 3 teams, which will make it even a little bit more interesting. So 6 o'clock here next Saturday, September 27th, $15 suggested donation. Everything goes to Summit. All the proceeds go to Summit. And yeah, bring everyone. It's all are welcome. So we hope to see you there.
This is more of a question than an announcement. There were several of us at the picnic last week who really liked that vegan potato salad made with the red potatoes, and we would really love to know who brought it. So if you're that person, please let us know so we could get the recipe.
The flaming chalice was first used as a symbol by Unitarians during World War II to represent the core values of sacrifice and love in the face of adversity. Marisa will now come forward to light our chalice. Welcome, friends, newcomers, old-timers, seekers, skeptics, saints of habit, and rebels of heart. Here we gather not because we think the same, but because we choose to journey together. Belonging is not something given, it is something we build. With open hands and open hearts. It is made in the sharing of stories, the holding of silences, the courage to show up as we are. Here we practice a radical hospitality, not of perfection, but of presence. May we make this place a shelter for the soul, a workshop for justice, a sanctuary where love is not merely spoken, but lived deeply again, in trust, in hope, in the spirit of belonging. Now, please rise as you are able for our UU hymn and aspiration. Please be seated. Now, Reverend Casey with our reading.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There we go. I am the Reverend Casey Marie Pandell. It is my honor and my joy to be the minister here at Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether you are in our sanctuary today, watching at home on Zoom or on YouTube, whether it is your first visit or your 5,000th visit, you are whole, you are holy, you are loved, and you are so welcome here. I am a 36-year-old woman with shoulder-length-ish, magenta-ish hair, wearing a black sort of peasanty dress and a purple and pink stole with chalices on it. I'll get to it a little bit later, why it's so important that we do this announcement about what we look like every day. Please join me in a time of reflection as I do our reading by Alex Jensen entitled How We Belong. Unitarian Universalists can and do believe many different things about life's biggest questions, about God, about mystery, about what happens when we die. Though you cannot be a Unitarian Universalist if you don't agree about some of the more important parts of this faith. You cannot be a UU, or you won't be much of a good one, if you cling to the prejudiced or oppressive views of others. If you in any way believe that someone else is somehow inferior or anything less than human. You cannot be a Unitarian Universalist if you cannot tolerate big questions or critically examine what it is you believe and why you believe it. You can't be a UU if you fundamentally believe there is only one path or one spiritual truth out there to make meaning of life and to understand it. If you cling to just one set of beliefs, dogmas, or creeds and shut out the possibilities and offerings of other traditions that are different from your own, you are not a Unitarian Universalist. As wide as our welcoming embrace is, there are some things that are non-negotiable for us as a people. Those non-negotiables are the inherent worth and dignity of each person, no matter who they are. The rigor of critical thinking about ourselves and our beliefs, and the bounty of the world's traditions that each hold a piece of the cosmic puzzle about how we might understand these wild, wondrous lives we lead. No, you cannot be a Unitarian Universalist and believe anything you want. But you can believe in a lot of things. Though there are some fundamental things that bring us and bind us together as a tradition and a living faith. Welcome to worship. If you would like one of the hymn books for the first hymn, we have them for you. Thank you so much to Rin for making sure we have the lyrics on the screen. Please rise in mind, body, or spirit to join us for singing What Would Happen If from Songs of Grace.
No, there is one.
And many thanks and my absolute unending gratitude to Stacy Sasaki for helping, picking all of the music for today. All of our hymns were Stacy's astute eye, so thank you. Our joys and concerns portion of our service.
As you heard, my name is Mary, and today I'm wearing a black, also peasant-style dress that's covered with harvest fruit. So it's got green and reds, and it's got flowers and pomegranates and cherries and all kinds of wonderful things that you might harvest, because I'm talking about the season of harvest. So if any kids want to come up, you're most welcome to. I have a basket of apples up here that we're going to talk about. Let me pull these over. My little basket of apples. Hello. So has anybody ever heard of Mabon? A few of you have. Okay, good. So Mabon is a celebration around the equinox that is about the second celebration of the harvest. And it comes from the pagan and Wiccan tradition. It's not an ancient holiday, although equinoxes were celebrated by communities all over the world. Mabon was considered the second harvest. So the first harvest is Lunasaw, which would be right at the very beginning of August. And then Mabon, which is the equinox, when the sun and the light and the dark are equal, which is this weekend, on Monday. And so that would be the second harvest. So first harvest might be when you go and pick your stone fruits, like think about your apricots, because they won't last. But now you would be picking your apples, because they needed to be colder to harvest. At least that's how it was in Maine when I was a child. So the story, this is a wisdom tale, and it's called The Apple Tree's Gift. It also helps us to think about what belonging really means. So long ago, in a small village nestled between the hills and the woods, there stood an ancient apple tree at the very center of the town square. It had wide, leafy branches and roots reaching deep into the earth. And I don't know about you if you've ever seen an apple tree. When I was a kid, they were my favorite trees to climb because they had lots of branches. Yeah, they were pretty fun to climb. You see apple trees? You guys seen apple trees before? Yes? We go apple picking, yes. That was very much a tradition, so. Nice. So every year the tree gave its fruit at just the right time during the season of the golden leaves when the air grew crisp and cool. Everyone in the village called the tree Grandmother Apple because she had stood there for so many years to give her gifts so freely to the community. Her apples were red and gold and green. Unfortunately, Trader Joe's had a nice apple selection today. The gold and red and green, just like the colors of the autumn leaves, which we don't really have here. We have different changing. Our leaves change a little differently, but they still change with the harvest, with the seasons. Each year at the fall equinox, when the days and nights were equal and the world felt perfectly balanced, the people of the village would gather to celebrate the festival of harvest. They would pick the apples and say thank you to the tree, using the fruits to make pies and cider and dried apple rings and even medicine for little coughs and stomach aches. But one year, something changed. The apples had ripened early, and a few villagers started picking the fruit in secret before the harvest festival. "We'll save them for our family," they whispered, "just in case there are enough later." One by one, others did the same. And by the time the festival day came, the branches were nearly bare. The children looked up in surprise. "Where did the apples go?" they asked. The oldest villager, a kind old woman named Mira, looked around and said gently, "It seems we are all afraid there wouldn't be enough, so we forgot to share. Grandmother Apple always has freely given to us, and her gifts have lasted us through many winters." Then she walked up to the tree and placed one shiny apple she had been saving in her basket onto the ground beneath it. One by one, the others followed. Some gave apples, some gave dried slices, others shared juice, apple butter, jam, or even apple seeds to plant a new tree. The festival became not about having the most, but about sharing the best of what we have. That year, the village felt warmer in spirit, and even as the days grew colder. And Grandmother Apple Next spring, her blossoms were more beautiful than ever, and her roots felt the love that had been returned. So I love this for talking about building belonging. The whole community came together. They all were stuck in scarcity mindset. Like, I got to grab my apples. I mean, we've all felt that, right? I got to go buy the toilet paper before we don't make it anymore. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're still dealing with it. But then to just freely give. And that's really when we're at our best, is when we freely share love with each other in ways that help support each other. So with that in mind, we're doing something kind of exciting. The kids have been working on this for a very long time. We have a tiny little library that's going to get dedicated after the service today. And we're going to take our apples back to RE, and we're going to put stickers in the books and help prepare some bookmarks for the tiny little library. And we might do some cooking too. We haven't decided. We have to see how we're all feeling energetically. But for the tiny little library, we asked that anybody who would like to bring a book to donate to the tiny little library. So we're going to have a little book harvest. So if you have a book, and if you don't, that's okay. We'll take books at any time. Anytime. So, it's a little free library. That's what it's called. So the little free library, has anybody ever seen a little free library? There are so many. I know. I've been driving in a car with Reverend Casey. She's like, little library, stop. So we have to stop. So the little library is filled with books. Ours is children and adult books that anybody can come and take one, enjoy it. They could keep it, or they can return it, or they can return it to another little library. And all the ones we're putting out are going to have a little sticker inside them, a little book plate that has our summit website on it and information. So it's also a form of publicity for us. So, all right. So Casey's going to gather any books. If you have a book, if you have some books. Did you bring a book, Bree? Do you want to put it in the basket, or you want to just bring it back to RE? Okay. All right. Oh, we got some teachers bringing books. These can be gently used. They don't have to be brand new. Wonder. Yeah, so we want, and we're trying to donate books that really fit with our values. So think about that as well. So thank you all. After the service, when the service ends, somebody's going to come run back and tell us in RE, because we're going to go out to the tiny little library. We're going to do a ribbon cutting and a blessing. Casey's going to bless it, and we're going to put all our books in. Does that sound like fun? Okay. All right. Are you ready? So thank you so much to everybody who donated books. And we haven't done this in a while, but I thought we would do the Unitarian Universalist Body Prayer. So I don't know if a lot of the younger kids know this, because we haven't done it in a while, but some of you do. So I'm going to teach you how to do it. You can stand up or you can sit. So we are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, helping hands, loving hearts, and helping hands. My brain was dyslexic it as usual. So, and we're going to head off to go get our books ready. Do you guys want to try it? How heavy is that basket? Can I have some adult helpers who are going to RE, or we just want to come help carry books back? That'd be wonderful. Do you guys want to carry the basket of apples?
Thank you for bringing all of those donated books. We're very, very, very excited. Thank you again to Scott Seaberth, who built our little free library. We did not have to order that one. He built it with his own hands, and it's beautiful. The children have helped decorate it, so it is very much a summit library, and we are really excited to put that out for us, but also for our community. So I'm really excited for you all to see it later. Please rise in mind, body, or spirit to sing hymn 1012, When I Am Frightened. If you would like a hymnal, it is in the teal softback hymnal. Please join me in a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection as I read words by Tess Baumberger entitled Gathering Place. There is a word you will hear a lot in this piece. Substitute it with the word that feels best for you. God is a gathering place where souls join to rest and to share their lives. God is a gathering place where we meet our inmost selves with courage and compassion. God is a gathering place where we are supported by gentle words and hands. God is a gathering place where worries and strife emerge and struggle in the safety of community. God is a gathering place where families of friends meet to celebrate and to mourn. God is a gathering place where we come to satisfy spiritual hungers and thirsts. God is a gathering place where we lovingly share the riches of ourselves with the world. God is a gathering place for sorrows, losses, and tears, for joys, births, and laughter. God is a gathering place for me and for everyone who wishes to come. Amen. Sorry, Tech, they're saying they can't hear me. There we go. Yes, God. There we go. All right, thanks for being patient with me, team. So even people I had known for years suddenly looked at me like I was a stranger. And all they wanted to do was push past the uncomfortable stuff. So instead of just being able to say, this sucks, and I'm really sorry, I got all kinds of weird stuff. A memorable one was at his funeral, a friend of his saying, don't worry, you're still young, you'll fall in love again one day. Which, while true, not what you want to hear like 2 weeks after someone passes away. So I found that people were so uncomfortable with who they expected me to be when I wasn't that person anymore. They would try to push past it. I wasn't given the space to be the girl with the dead boyfriend, except some places I was. And one of those places ended up being my home church in Fullerton. And people ask me how it was I became a Unitarian Universalist, and I tell them it was that little congregation. because my first visit was grief group. And it was 2 widowed women who looked at me and said, "We get it, and we're sorry. Come." And I thought, well, shoot, I might as well just show up at church, and then sat there with my arms crossed in the front row on Sunday. But it was the first time someone had ever looked at me and said, "I don't know you, but you are fine exactly as you are." In that space, I was allowed to be as broken as I was, because I was pretty darn broken at the time. I had no idea who I was. I didn't even know which way was up. And they all said, "Come, let us love you in this place." And as they accepted me exactly as I was and exactly as I came, it was easier for me to look at them and say, "Let me love you in this place." And a term you might hear me say sometimes is we love each other into being. And when we take that moment to see people not for who we think they should be, but who we actually know them to be, it helps us love each other and ourselves into being together. So someone asked me this week, when we're talking about building belonging, we're a pretty welcoming community, Casey. What do you mean we need to talk about building belonging? Don't we already do that? Yes. But we are in a time at Summit where people want to see something really important. Who wants to see this community grow and get bigger? That's a lot of hands. That's everybody in the room, and probably a lot of people at home. What happens when groups get bigger? More people show up. That means more personalities. That means more questions. That means more wonderings. That means more opinions about how things should be done. Am I right? How many times have we all been in a place and said, "We have a great idea," and someone looks at them and goes, that's not how we do things. I've had it happen to me. And it's okay that that happens. It's not a judgment call on anything. But it's a reminder that when we want to do this work of being authentically welcoming and belonging, sometimes we have to get a little uncomfortable. We have to be willing to look at the boundaries we have set up and decide if they still serve who we want to be. It's the idea of trying to put the square peg in the circle hole. How many people tried to do that when you were a kid until you figured it out? It's really hard to look at the things that work for us and say, well, maybe that doesn't work for everyone. So how can we make it work for the larger group? That's why I picked the meditation I did today. I could feel a little bit of bristling at one of the words. Could you all tell me what the word is that you think I heard bristling at? Just shout it. God, exactly. Yes, we are Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And we are a congregation. And we are a church. And we are a faith community. Because someone in this room needs that language. When we tell each other, no, that's not who we are, what are we doing? We're pushing them away and saying, what you need doesn't fit here. This is something I've struggled with for a long time. I was an atheist, very loudly and annoyingly so, for many years before I found Unitarian Universalism. If you go back and listen to my ordination sermon, you'll hear about it. The word God was really itchy and uncomfortable for me because so many people had used that word against me. But if I wanted to be a minister and serve a pluralistic faith, and when I say pluralistic, I mean all of these up here, because there's truth in each of these faith communities, right? If I wanted to be able to lead a community, I needed to be okay with all of the language, not just the ones that I liked. Because I'll tell you what, the only language that really got me riled up was God and prayer and sacrament and covenant. And gosh, didn't we see all of those words in our aspiration today? I will admit, I kind of was not great at it at first. People would tell me I was praying and I would say, no, that's not prayer, that's manifestation. Oops. Guess what? It's the same thing. And that's really what I want to lean into today. And I know that some people have heard me say this over and over again, but it bears repeating because we are hearing from our administration them choosing words for us. Did our administration not just change the Department of Defense to the Department of War? Words matter, right? The words that we need to hear help define things for us. We're hearing in Christian nationalist spaces people claiming religious language as theirs. Language that is being used against people who need our love and support. When communities look at our marginalized communities and say, God doesn't like you, that's spiritual harm. So I want us, not just in language, but in how we invite people to reclaim those words. Because I know they're hard for us. I'll admit it. Sometimes I say I'm going to pray and I still sit there and go, is it prayer though? Yes, Casey, it is. So I'm not going to pretend I'm perfect with any of this. But when we have so many communities that are being regularly, vociferously, publicly attacked, it's our job to make it make sense, to make us a place that we want to be welcoming. So instead of challenging people to use language that makes them uncomfortable, which it is okay to be uncomfortable, that means you're doing learning and growth, and that's great. Let's do it together. Because this kind of language matters. This is the base of how we start welcoming. Because if we can't say certain words here, how can we be sure that people feel welcomed in these spaces? So instead of making ourselves uncomfortable with words like God and sacrament and covenant, which are all part of our faith roots, when we reclaim them as good things, as truth for some people, even if it isn't our truth, when we can start doing the weaving together and understanding that prayer and manifestation can be the same thing, that God and universe and the divine can be the same thing, when we start doing that translation work, we're doing really good spiritual work. It's good for us, yes. You heard in some of our readings today the idea of using our rational thought. Our experiences are just as much a part of our faith journeys as the faith that we discover as we go. But when we're giving ourselves the opportunity to do that root translation work for ourselves, we're able to do it out there and to show people that we are a home that they could be in. I want us to be the church that immigrants feel welcome at. I want us to be the congregation that transgender kids feel safe at. I want us to be the faith community that Christians can feel safe at, that Jews can be safe at, that Muslims can be safe at. We have to be willing to be a little uncomfortable in these spaces to start pushing open our boundaries. Some boundaries shouldn't be pushed, but when we want to grow from 120, Debbie, that sounds about right for membership, to 200, 300, 400 members, where we need 2 services instead of 1, or maybe a bigger building, we have to know there's going to be some growing pains to do it. I've heard a few people say, joyfully and a little confused, well, gosh, there are so many people I don't recognize anymore. That's a good thing, and also a really uncomfortable thing, because that means our culture in this room is going to start to change. But instead of being concerned about it, instead of holding on to, well, that's not how we used to do it. The world we live in now is not the world of we used to. We are living in incredibly different times than the last time you had a minister. When we give ourselves the chance to make ourselves uncomfortable for the greater good, we start to open up our own possibilities for our own faith journey and our own beliefs that we can share with those new people and the ones already here. Because we get to make this community what it is, right? Right, there we go. You're still with me. So when you hear things in the news that make you bristle about certain faiths, because there's a lot of it right now. There was a picture from the Department of Defense of everyone with their hands in the air praying, which is not a bad thing, but I think maybe the wrong location. We have to examine those things and understand why it is that it's making us uncomfortable. And if we really want to build the belonging, authentic, welcoming community I know we all want to be here, sometimes it starts with some of that. Because if we really want to be the force for good and justice and, gosh darn it, love in this world that I know this community wants to be, that's where it starts. Stretching those boundaries and being willing to break down what used to be in order to make room for something that we can't even imagine yet. Summit is really good at doing that, and I want to see more of it because it is so beautiful to watch you all go on that journey together. And I am excited to continue to keep going on it with all of you. So may it be, and amen.
We will now receive the morning offering. Your Sunday morning gifts provide this fellowship the financial resources to help build a better world together. They also keep the lights on and staff paid. Smallest gift is welcome. If you'd like to give but didn't bring cash, we've included a QR code in the order of service that you can use. If you're on Zoom, please select the Sunday Plate option in the chat box.
Today's offertory is a piece called Metamorphosis 2 by Philip Glass. I can't think of anything more topical than a moth that comes from a caterpillar, that it sits in a chrysalis and then who knows what happens in there, and then suddenly it emerges and is able to fly. And to me, this piece kind of expresses that dark place and then the emerging life, fluttering wings.
Please rise as you are able for our closing hymn, number 404 in the gray hymnal.
I found out recently that someone I love very dearly, 9 years on, thinks that I should be done with grief. We have to know that when people bring their whole authentic selves with us, they are not always going to fit into our ideas. And when we bring our whole authentic selves to a community, that we also might not always fit their ideas of what should be. My hope is that for us to build this sort of authenticity, that we can see each other in all of our wholeness. Sometimes that wholeness includes brokenness. Sometimes that wholeness includes things that don't agree with us. I think one of the problems we have in liberal spaces is that we have the problem of being not good enough. We have a lot of purity tests that keep us from doing good work. If you are not perfectly that thing, you cannot sit next to me. But that is not what makes our world beautiful. How much outside is imperfect, and in its imperfection, there is beauty. In its imperfection, there is a world greater than us that we get to exist in if we let ourselves exist with each other in all of our imperfections, in all of our hopes and dreams and fears. I hope that we can be a space for people to do that, and I hope that we are a space for each and every one of you to always do that as well. Amen, shalom, salam, ashe, namaste, and blessed be. Go now in peace. May the light within you be a blessing to the world.
We close our service by extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So you already heard about one of them, but we have two special events after service today, the second of which is a baby shower for our very own Jessica Bennett. Because of that, we're not going to have our community gathering time, which for you visitors is we gather together a few minutes after service ends and we talk about the sermon message that we just heard. But we're not going to do that today. We're going to have our two special events. First, we're going to rally right outside in the parking lot and go over and dedicate our new little free library. But before we do that, we're going to join hands for our closing circle song. Now, if holding hands is not your thing, please just join the circle and do what feels natural, perhaps a hand over the heart.